Hello everyone, another weekend morning. Today I'm going to talk about the Roland System 8. Mostly the process I went through to decide to buy the System 8 over other options in the market today. So today, it's going to be my buyer's guide to the System 8. Hello everyone, I'm Nu-Trix the Synth Guy, and today, System 8, we'll talk about that. Recently, I was looking to buy a poly-synth, polyphonic synthesizer. I already had the JP-8000, which I was ready to sell, which I did. Yeah, I know, people say, why? Wait a sec, you'll understand why. But yeah, I had the JP-8000 for 15 years. I think I was just like ready to get something else. I looked at almost everything. I looked at every piece of hardware, poly-synth that existed. I gave myself a limit of between 1,000 and 2,500. I looked at analog, Moog, and Poly, Brute, and all these models to have, and the sequential circuit, which I owned in the past. I had Moog and I had a sequential circuit synth in the past. It's not even called sequential circuit anymore. It's Dave Smith Instruments. I went through all of this, and for all of them, there was always something that I said, well, there's this limit, and that limit. I'll explain to you why I decided on System 8. First of all, and it has to be the most important reason that you buy any type of synthesizer, it sounds good. I love how it sounds. So if the synthesizer provides the sound you want, then it's already a good starting point, I would say, So I love the way this thing sounds. Let's go through the specs, It uses two types of synthesis engine. We have the System 8 synthesis engine, and we have the Plugouts. And that is a real cool feature about this synthesizer. The Plugouts actually are ACB technology synthesizers, or recreation of synthesizers. So ACB is the advanced circuit behavior modeling that Roland did create. And that is the technology we see in all the TR-08, 09, the TR-8S, the TR-8, all the boutique series. They're almost all, I'm saying almost because the SC02 is a real analog, and the A01 is an 8-bit synthesizer, but all of the others are using ACB technology. So they're really, I would say, alive. They really mimic all the circuit of a synthesizer, even if they're not being used. The way that you turn a knob that is not in the signal path could affect the other parts around it and change the sound. So honestly, it sounds really good. Now, you can say you like it or not, fine, but it sounds really good still. You have in this one the System 8, which is the native system synthesis, if you want. And then you have the Plugout, which can load Plugout synth that mimics the Jupiter 8, the one that you find in the JP8 boutique, basically. And you have in the plugin also, you can have on your computer. You have the Juno 106, you have the JX3P. These comes built in, but you can replace them. And you can replace them with the SH2, the SH101, the ProMars, the System 100, and the Juno 60. That was released like last week. So you have a lot of options. And honestly, there's a good chance that you will pick 3 that you like the most, put it in, and use them. What's cool about this is that most of these synthesizers, these classic synth, actually have less controls than what you have on the System 8. And you see all these little lights here. Well, if you load, let's say this one, the Plugout 2 or the Plugout 1, the Plugout 3, these are 3 different synthesizers. You see the lights are changing. The ones that are kept lit are actually active because in that model of a synth, they exist. When you go into, let's say, Plugout 2, what is in my Plugout 2 here? Plugout info. It's a Jupiter 8. No, Jupiter 8 is on my Plugout 1, Juno 106 on Plugout 2, and Juno 60 on my Plugout 3. So when you move between them, you see the changes that exist, and then you go back to the system, all the options are there. So it's a great way to actually navigate and still being hardware. One cool thing is you disconnect from the computer and you can actually use this. I mean, it runs from the internal synthesizer. These synthesizers also exist virtual. And if you want to control in real time using the front panel, the surface, there's a mode in there somewhere called surface mode. When you turn the knob, you're sending just the controller information to control these virtual synthesizers like Jupiter 8 and also in a plugin inside your DAW. So that really is a cool, combination. And when you're in your computer programming your sound, you say, I like this one, you press Plugout and it sends it whoop into the System 8. So really, a really cool integration, really powerful, sounds good. So that's, I think, one of the main reasons. Now, let's go back to the System 8 synthesis itself. This thing is massive. Nobody can say that the System 8 native synth is just like another one. No, it's really super, powerful. I would say that maybe one thing I would like to have would be a second LFO. There's only one LFO, but there's a way to go around it. But yeah, there's only one LFO. What's special about this synthesizer? Well, you have cross modulation. You have ring modulation. You got sync. You have 2 oscillators plus a third one. And you have a noise, and they're all separate. You have a pitch envelope, and you have a filter envelope. You have an amp envelope, and they can be reassigned to something else. You've got a great sounding bunch of effects at the end. So this is basically, if you look at this synthesizer here, it's everything you expect out of a synthesizer. It does all of the classic, tweaks and fun. But then there is variation. Each oscillator can actually have 12 different shapes of oscillators. So really powerful, really cool sounding. I'll do another video just about the synthesis, and we'll listen to all of these parts because I like this. It's going to be fun. But today I'm just going to go around saying what you can do with this. But really powerful. On top of that, this is a synthesizer that works the same way as the JP-8000. That my background, I know the JP, I know, all these classic Roland synthesizers. I've worked with them in the past. Well, you have this mode here, either performance mode or patch mode. In patch mode, you only have one patch. You're making your sound. In performance mode, you can actually have 2. You're in layer mode or in split mode or dual mode or solo mode or single mode, depending on how you look at it. But basically, you're splitting from lower to upper, and you have these 2 keyboards you can play. You can have a bass and a lead, and you can actually compose your song or play your music with that. So if you're in performance, let's try. I'm gonna go here. You've got your bass and you've got your almost guitarish, distortion sound. Go back to patch and you only have 1. What else? Well, you've got 64 memories for each of these. Each of these models plus the System 8, you have 64 patches of memory. It's an 8-voice polyphonic synth, that's for sure. And you have a step sequencer here you can record. What's cool is that you can actually have a step sequencer for the upper and the lower separately. You can have a different one for the lower and the upper. That was one of the things I was looking into a synthesizer. I wanted to have a dedicated step sequencer that you can actually create. And you can record on the fly, in real time, here, or step record here. And you've got still controls here. All this section here, you can do in real time. The play mode, the gate time, the shuffling. So all of this is in real time. So it becomes a playable sequencer, which is cool. At the same time, you can have also the Arpeggiator working. And again, a lot of options here. And you can also go chord memory. Then you have more. You have a vocoder here. That's really cool. So you have a vocoder here, you plug your microphone in the back, and then you just go and then you play. if you look at the back here, you're going to have hold, control, and trigger in. Oh, a trigger in. That's a cool thing. Of course, you got MIDI. You got SD card. SD card is for saving the memory. And I mean, just backing up and firmware update. We got gate out, CV outs, and this you can really assign to what you want. It could be the notes of the upper, the notes of the lower, the triggering of the sequencer of the lower or the upper, or anything played that's going to be sent here. So this can be used to control something else. And you've got an audio in. You've got left, right, and line and mic control here. So if you put your line in, line in, it could even be kind of a mixer if you want. You could even send your, let's say, drum machine into this and use this. Now, I'm going to test different ways to use this because what I find interesting, and I'm going to see if I can do this, and same thing with the TR-8S, you have an audio in, same thing on this one. But for those two devices, you have effects. Like the TR-8S, I'm pretty sure I can do something like sending my microfreak into it through the effects and out to the output. So I could actually use this as a processor to add delays and chorus on my microfreak. I'm gonna look into how I can do it with this one, but mostly, by default, it's for the vocoder, but it could be for something else if you want to do something else. And by the way, the sequencer can be running up to 64 notes straight. Sounds good, Stop this. So that's a quick one for today. Why I picked the System 8, and in the following videos I will talk more in details about some features that are really I think that the performance mode is something that people don't understand and they don't use well, and this makes this synthesizer super powerful. So I'll explain more about the performance mode because that's where you combine everything. The synthesis, the sequencer, the arpeggiator, on two parts, it becomes a super powerful synthesizer. So stay tuned for other videos about System 8 because they just released the Juno 60 Plugout, and I'll do a video about how to use the Plugout and how to actually get the plug-in or the plug-out and to install it in the System 8. It's not that difficult, but if you don't follow the right steps, it might not work. That's it. Stay safe, make more music. Cheers.